Welcome back to the Self-Discovery Files. This is episode 41, and today let's talk about something that I think a lot of people haven't noticed. Okay, there's a voice in your head that'll talk you out of things. Okay, and you know which one I'm talking about. It's not a super loud voice. It's actually very calm about it, and it almost sounds like a friend that's, looking out for you. And it shows up right when you're about to do something that scares you a little bit. And never, not once in your life, has it said the words or anything along the lines of, don't do that. You're scared. It doesn't do that, because if it did that, you'd argue with it, right? If that voice came in and just straight up said, hey, you're scared, you'd push back on that. Nobody wants to be the dude or the person that backed out because they were afraid. So if fear showed up as fear, honestly, you'd probably beat it half the time. So it doesn't show up like that. It says something a lot smarter. It'll say things like, now's really not the time. It says things like, you should probably prepare a little bit more first. Or, it says, they look busy, or you've had a long week, you'll just start on Monday. Or, this isn't the right opportunity, there'll be a better one. All of those sound reasonable. And that's the thing. That's the whole trick right there. So we're going to dive into that and talk about it in this episode. So here's what I want you to notice about that voice that I just described, because once you see this, you can't really unsee it. And once you really understand it, so take this to heart. Whatever it is that you're actually afraid of, the excuse is always the exact opposite of that thing. So say you're scared that you'll look stupid going up to somebody, right? The excuse your brain gives you is, I don't want to bother them. If you're scared that you're going to fail at whatever you're doing, the excuse is, I'm not ready yet. You're scared of how uncomfortable it's going to be to start. Then the excuse is, I need to plan this out properly first. So every excuse it's custom made every single time. Your brain takes the thing that you're scared of, flips it around, and hands it back to you in a more like wisdom. And that's why it works so well. Because if it sounded like fear, you'd fight it. So it doesn't sound like fear. It sounds like good judgment. And you don't just avoid that thing. You get to feel good about avoiding it. Right? You walk away thinking that you made a smart decision, or you were being mature about it, or being realistic. A lot of people say that one. Nobody feels like a coward in the moment ever. And that's why this thing has such a good record. Okay? So let's talk about what that voice is actually keeping you from. Everything that you want, and I mean everything, the body, the money, confidence, skills, all of it, it's all sitting behind a door. And that door is something uncomfortable. And I'm not saying that as some inspirational thing. That's just how it works. Okay? Like, you want muscle, the muscle's on the other side of the set where it burns, and your body is telling you to stop. And that burn isn't a side effect of building muscle. That burn is the building. That's the actual mechanism of it. If you take that part out and you didn't work out, you just went and moved some weight around the room. Right? You want to be good with people? That's on the other side of a bunch of awkward conversations. And I mean a bunch. Going up to people, saying the wrong thing, feeling your face get hot, and then doing it again the next day. There's no directions for that. There's no book for that. There's no shortcut. There's no perfect line that you can memorize. Every uncomfortable interaction is just a rep. And after enough of them, the thing that, used to scare you is just normal, right? It's just another day. And it's the same with everything else, right? Business or discipline or any hard conversations, right? So the discomfort isn't in front of the thing you want. The discomfort is how the thing gets made. Which means when that voice talks you out of it, it's not protecting you from some obstacle. It's protecting you from the actual process. Now, here's where I think most people miss it, and this is why I actually think this matters. If you ask somebody what it costs to avoid discomfort, they'd probably say, well, you don't get that thing, right? You wanted the body, you don't have the body. You wanted confidence, you're not confident. Fine. But that's the small version of it, because your ability to handle discomfort, that's a muscle too. And you're either training that or you're detraining it. There's no neutral, there's no staying still. You're either losing it or gaining it. So every time you listen to that voice. You're not just staying where you are. You're lowering the ceiling. You're basically teaching yourself that discomfort is a thing that you back away from. And your brain learns that lesson really, really well. So, stuff that was hard for you at 20 is going to feel harder at 30. And not because life got harder, but because you got smaller compared to it. Your threshold for that thing just drops. And your whole life, it kind of quietly rearranges itself to fit inside of whatever's left. And here's the part that gets me about it. Your comfort zone recenters around you wherever you stopped. So it never actually feels like you're shrinking. It always just feels normal, right? It feels like this is who I am. This is what I'm capable of. You don't get any warnings, or there's no moment where something or someone goes, that's the third thing that you've backed out of this month. You just kind of slowly become somebody who does less. And from the inside, it feels completely fine. So comfort doesn't just hold you in place, right? Or halter you. It walks you backwards, and it feels good the whole time it's doing it. That's the whole thing about it, right? Every time that you avoid something, you get relief immediately, guaranteed. So you're getting rewarded in real time for the exact thing that's making you smaller. Because nobody has ever been punished in the moment for picking comfort. That payback shows up years later, and then by that time it doesn't even just look like payback or something you have to pay. It just looks like your life. But there's also something else about this that I don't hear a lot of people talk about too much. Discomfort tolerance isn't one thing. Okay, it's not one dial that you just turn up and now you're able to tolerate discomfort. Because let me give you an example. Somebody can be an absolute animal in the gym. Absolute animal. Pushing through everything, right? Never misses a day, does hard sets, all of it, right? And that same person can be completely unable to have one uncomfortable conversation. Can't make one phone call. And that's not them being a hypocrite, and it doesn't make them soft. It just means that they trained the one and not the other. So you can't point at the area where you're already tough and use that as proof that you're not avoiding anything. And a lot of people do exactly that. It's like, I'm disciplined. Look at my routine. While there's some specific thing that they've been dodging for years, right? So it's worth being honest with yourself about which room that you're avoiding, because usually it's the one that you've built the best excuse for. Now, I want to slow down for a second because there's a way to take this and hurt yourself with it, right? The advice of push through everything is bad advice, okay? Like, actually bad. And if you follow that far enough, you're going to end up staying in stuff that you should have walked out of a long time. And then calling it strong, right? Um, Not all discomfort is worth it. So here's how I tell the difference, right? And it's really just one question. What is it building? Right? Good discomfort makes something. The set builds the muscle. The awkward conversation builds, the ability to talk to people and be in awkward conversations. The uncomfortable stretch at work builds that muscle, that skill. There's a clear answer to what it's for, and it's temporary, and it ends. And it ends not because anything out there changed, but because you got bigger than it. Bad discomfort doesn't build anything. Okay, it just wears you down. For example, a job that just grinds you down into dust and isn't going anywhere for your career, right? The relationship that you're in that just hurts and doesn't get better. There's no answer to what it's making, and there's no end to it either. You could put 10 more years into that and be in the same exact spot, just more tired, more exhausted. That's not growth, okay? That's damage. And damage looking like growth is honestly one of the more expensive mistakes that people make, because you feel very noble the entire time that it's pulling you apart. So everything worth having is uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean everything uncomfortable is worth having. Those are two completely different sentences. Keep them separate, okay? I'm gonna go over one last thing and then I'll let you guys go, okay? Because I don't want to drag this episode on. There's something that nobody really tells you about doing hard things, which is that they don't stay hard. That first uncomfortable conversation is brutal. And then the 10th one is fine. And by the 15th one, you don't even notice it as uncomfortable. It's just talking, and the thing didn't change at all, but you did. That's the actual promise here. It's not that you white knuckle a hard life forever. It's that the specific thing that's scaring you right now has an expiration date on it. And the only way to get there is through it. Every rep that you do moves it closer. So when that voice shows up in your head, and it's gonna show up today, or probably in the next few days, maybe in the next few hours, I want you to ask it one thing. Is that a reason, or is that just the exact opposite of what I'm afraid of? Because you already know. You knew before I even said it, and that's the annoying part about all of this. You always know what you're avoiding. There's no self-discovery you have to do here. There's just a price sitting there, and you have not been paying it. And it's not a punishment. It's not life testing you or whatever. It's just what it costs. It costs everybody the same. Nobody gets to pay a different price or a discount. It's been the same price this whole time. So you can pay it, or you can hang on to it and stay exactly where you are. So that's it. That's the whole choice. And it has always been the whole choice your whole life. That's what I want you to understand. So thank you for listening to episode 41 of the Self-Discovery Files. If you enjoyed this podcast and you haven't followed me on whatever you're listening on, follow me. You'll get updates every single Monday at 12 Eastern when I upload a new episode. Follow me on my socials at the Dylan Phipps on Instagram and TikTok. And I will see you next week for episode 42.